Kate N-kartha, thanks very much indeed for joining us here today. First of all, why do you think that this letter is necessary? What has the impact of climate change been on farmers in Kenya, where you are, for example?
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show. The letter is so important because then it's just reminding the world leaders of the promises they made in terms of reducing emissions, on climate finance, and ensuring that the business climate is governed by environmental friendly policies. So that those are just really reminding them to deliver on their promise, because then the producers here in Africa are doing their best to mitigate and adapt to the climate changes. What Fairtrade farmers are currently doing, they're planting trees in their cocoa and coffee plantation to ensure that the crops are shaded and that the yields can somewhat remain as they were before, and also protecting the soils. They've adapted to using solar solutions for their lighting, for their cooking, and also even adapted technology in terms of Fairtrade delivering standards and training materials to them. So they're doing the best within the abilities that they have. But we're saying is they need more. We need more as producers. The 100 billion annual promise will go a long way in strengthening some of the strategies that the producers are already implementing.
Well, yes, and we've heard in recent weeks that President Biden is pledging to double the US's climate finance to $11.4 billion. Does that give you encouragement that world leaders are stepping up?
It's really a mixed feeling, because the previous promises, only about less than 2% actually got to the smallholder producers. So we can always have hope, but we need to have a great mechanism to ensure that the pledges are delivered and delivered to the smallholder farmers. So I'm glad that the issue is coming up. I'm glad that they're promising more, but they actually need to act and ensure that that money comes to the producers so that they can address the climate changes. After all, most of the smallholder producers are the least emitters, and there's too much burden on them. So it's good to get the world leaders to commit and deliver onto their promise.
You're also calling on world leaders to strengthen business regulations, but realistically, how far can governments go to force private businesses to make decisions based on awareness of climate change?
It's interesting and it's doable, because at Fairtrade, we do have some businesses that really have sustainable supply chain solutions and strategies within their corporate solutions, and that includes the environment. And when they do business with Fairtrade farmers, it's in the long haul. So with a long haul, with a long-term partnership, the producers then are able to invest in environmental friendly solutions. And how the government then can come in is to ensure, as they're giving, developing policies and giving business permits, there are all this environmental due diligence incorporated in all these rules. I believe the government is a very big instrument. And I think if they support implementation of sustainable supply chains for businesses and providing guidance, and as well as enabling environment, it could be through incentives or tax breaks or whatever it is, then the business will be encouraged to adopt environmental friendly strategies within the supply chain policies.
Ultimately, businesses are trying to make profits, aren't they? And margins can be pretty tight, especially in this country, for example, with energy prices going up. Do consumers have to accept they may have to pay higher prices for climate-aware products?
Currently, we find some of our producers, some of our consumers, they're already paying that price. And that is what is helping the Fairtrade farmers and smallholder workers really thrive. But again, what we are saying is it doesn't have to be at an extreme premium. We're saying as the sustainable production, sustainable consumption wave catches on, there could be additional costs that everyone within the supply chain will cover. But the more we do it from the consumers, from the business partners, from the governments, then over time with economies of scale, then you find that the premium doesn't have to be that high for the consumers to pay. And what we are noticing now is the consumers who are buying sustainably produced products, could be Fairtrade, it could be any other, it's going a long way in ensuring that the farmers are getting a fair wage, that goes to meet their basic needs like food, education, really basic needs that any consumer, any producer needs to be met. So I would want to imagine it's a continuum, it's a phase. The more we adopt sustainable production and consumption, the more efficient in terms of production and economies of scale we'll achieve and make things more affordable across the world.
Kate N-kartha, thanks very much indeed.